Hi everyone! So for this video, I wanted to do my update of my weekly reading, and it was the first week of the book Junkie Trials, which I was so excited to be a part of. I got put into the book scribes, and if you don't know anything about this challenge, there are 4 different groups. Each group has 4 prompts, and at the end, everyone has to read a 5th book, which is Stardust. So I'm very excited to read that book. And it'll be a great book. I have to wait for the library to bring it in, so I will have to read that next week, I suppose. I finished the 4 books for my group, and I am a half a book into the other one, so it is only week 1, so I think I'm doing okay. I am also trying to complete as many challenges this month as I can. So yesterday was the Basically Readathon, which was you have to read 1 book in 24 hours, which I did, which was the 4th book for this month. So let's get through 1 through 3 so we can talk about the other challenges. So the first book that I read was Identical by Ellen Hopkins, and I had to put this book down a few times because I was shocked at some of the things that happened in the book. I read this book 7 years ago, and if you don't know anything about Ellen Hopkins, she's a very real writer. She talks about real stories and tells them in such a different way. Like, her books are, it's all like poems, and like each poem, some of them have like hidden messages in them. So it's like it has the poem, and then when you read a certain line on their own, so like the poem and then you read it, and then this is a thing. So it's like evil isn't born, it's created. And then I like it when she does it because these are 2, you switch between characters, and then you get to see the same like line and how the other character, their story sort of includes a same element as the other one, but in a different way, which is very interesting to me. I had forgotten for some reason what the beginning of this book was about. I was so intrigued at the twist at the end with the twins that I forgot about the dad. I forgot about how the dad is with the girls or what he does to them. That when I picked this book for the prompt that I picked it for, I thought to myself, why did I do that? I should have picked a different book and read this for something else. But I was already halfway through it before I realized I could have switched, but I still had to read it anyways for the challenge. So I finished reading it. It was really good. It is a lot different experience than when I read it as a teenager. So if you were into Ellen Hopkins books as a teenager and you haven't revisited them in a while, it might be fun to do. Her books are so real. They focus on topics like drug abuse and sexual abuse and suicide and self-harm. Eating disorders is a big one. So she talks about really sensitive, hot topics, which is strange that they're considered hot topics if no one talks about them. Side thought. Why are they hot topics if no one will talk about them? They really need to be talked about, especially, I read this when I was in 9th grade, 10th grade, and I remember this being a topic that I wish someone had talked to me about or opened up to me about. She discusses a lot of taboo topics in her books, and I don't think they're talked about enough. I think more people need to talk about them to younger people because they aren't being talked about. The stories are repeating themselves. It's being realized too late. You can't fix what you don't talk about. So I'm not a very political person, but I do believe that. So the next book that I read, moving on to my challenges, was the Percy Jackson series with The Lightning Thief. And it was an okay book. I was upset that I watched the movie and then read the book because it might have some of the same events. However, the storyline was almost entirely different. Like, I feel like the quest was the same, but wasn't. It was different. And the characters were the same, but they weren't. They were different. And Ares, does Ares even show up in the movie? I really need to rewatch it because that would have been a nice inclusion for the movie. I really like that little side note in the book. And I think I expected a little bit more from this book because I love Greek mythology so much. And I think I just set too high of an expectation for this book is like middle high school book, right? Maybe I need to find a series that's more like adult that has to deal with Greek mythology because I love it so much. I read all the stories. I know most of it. Maybe that's what I need to do. Maybe I shouldn't be so disappointed in the book. I just need to choose a different book. I don't know. The next book that I read, I actually listened to it on an audiobook, but I also read it in this really big book. It's the complete works of Shakespeare. So I listened and read Macbeth, and I will say, I knew what it was about. I kind of knew like the beginning parts of it. It brings up a very interesting topic and about how, like, if you're told that you're going to be something, how does that affect how you get there now? Or if you get there at all, like, was the only reason that all this happened was because he was told this? Well, probably, yeah, based on the book. Yeah, that's kind of what happened. But I would really be interested in a modern contemporary adaptation. So if you have like any contemporary books that are based on Shakespeare plays and are retellings of Shakespeare works, please comment them because I would love that. I think I would really like to read that. I wasn't too pleased with actually reading it. It's a really hard read. I feel like I read it out of obligation. But the story plot was awesome. I really liked the story. It was very interesting. And so Percy Jackson was 375 pages and Shakespeare was 246. And then the last book that I read, which was my book for the Basically Readathon, was Fahrenheit 451. It was a hard read again. I did not much enjoy reading it. I feel like I liked some of the events. I liked the storyline. I guess it just was, I don't know. I guess I just don't like the writing style. Maybe it's just because this is the 50th anniversary edition. I think it's just the 50th because there's a little sticker over it. So this book is a fairly old book. I guess I was kind of surprised how much it still relates to today. It's kind of similar to the Neil Gaiman book with The Good Omens that just came out, which, by the way, is an awesome series to watch. It's 6 hours, I think over 6 hours. However, it was well worth it. I'm very excited to read the book. I didn't realize it was a book until afterwards. So I'm really going to have to read that book. I'm very excited for it. But they were saying in their interview how a lot of the stuff in the book 30 years ago that they wrote it is still applicable to today. So I'm very interested in reading it. And the fact that this kind of still holds true. A lot of the stuff in this is probably based on what technology there was back when this was written, might be more realistic now. And I think that that's a really scary thought, that you can have a book and you can see it like happening. It's coming true. It's like it was a prediction. And just like they felt in this book, you're kind of helpless to stop it and you don't know what to do. So, it was a pretty good book. I didn't like the writing style, but it might just be me. And the fact that it's an older book, but it'll be okay. The other book that I'm halfway through is Alice in Wonderland. However, I'll probably add it next week since it's part of a different group reading challenge. Kind of. I am doing the hashtag a yearathon challenge, which ends tonight. So all of the books that I just showed you, the point of the challenge is you have to read 5 books, 5 different types of books. So you have to read an owned book, which I did Shakespeare for the owned book because I actually own it. You have to do a hardcover book, which I'm going to do identical for. You have to do a paperback book, which I suppose Fahrenheit 451 is that one because I think it's the only paperback book I have. You have to do an audiobook, and to be honest, I actually read part of this on an audiobook because I was driving around for the 4th of July, so I'm going to count this as my audiobook because I read it in the car, listened to it in the car. And then the next book is a borrowed book or a library book, which I'm going to finish Alice in Wonderland, which is my borrowed book. So I completed the Basically Readathon. I'm about to complete the hashtag a yearathon reading challenge, and this also will be going into prompts completed for the Bookie Grail, which is the end. Like the Stardust book is called the Bookie Grail, which I think is really awesome. So those are the books that I read this week. Seems like a lot of pages, but it's only because Ellen Hopkins was so long. Another side note, and I'm sure that this is really early for me to be talking about this. However, I had this awesome idea that I wanted to do, and I wanted to share, just share it with you and see what your thoughts and opinions are, if anyone would be interested in it. I'm seeing a lot of booktubers, no matter how new they are to it. There's this one girl who's doing the Strange-a-thon at the end of the month, which I'm really excited for as well. She has less than, I want to say she has like 300, 200 something subscribers, and she's doing a readathon. So I thought that this might be fun. I wanted to do, because I'm obsessed with Friends, I wanted to do a Friends reading challenge in November. So it'd be like the one with Joey, the one with Phoebe, and they all have prompts. And then there'll be 6 of them to read in a week. I just wanted to see your thoughts on it. Would it be something you're interested? If you are, then subscribe or share it with someone. Because I don't know if I want to do it in November or if I want to do it when I hit 1,000 subscribers. If I get there, I know I have 5, so this is thinking really early. However, maybe announcing a possible readathon will increase my subscribers, but we shall see. It'll be fun. So go ahead, like and subscribe, comment, especially if you have any Shakespeare retelling books, because that would be something I'm interested in. And I hope you have a fantastic day.